In this video, we'll take a look at how to achieve logout functionality for our application. So what I will do, I'll bring in a few dependencies in Logout.js, and that's a Polo consumer component and with a router. And I'm going to create a logout page component, and we will return a logout button right here, and that means that we need to create a logout button class that extends the component. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Well, we want to make sure that we remove the token and that we redirect the user to, say, the login screen again. So if we are the profile, we hit logout, and then we want to be redirected to the login so that we can log back into the application. So you already know that if we want to access the browser's history, we need to enhance our component. So I'm going to say export default with router, and I'm going to enhance the logout page component. And because I've done this, I will have access to the history, which I can pass on as a property to the logout button component that we're building here. So this should probably render something, and I'm just going to return for now a button that says logout. And I want to use this button as well, so I'm going to export the logout button from this component as well. So this is a very basic functionality. Actually, there's no functionality yet because we just have a button here that says logout. But let's save this and let's add this logout button to the navigation that we have. So after profile, let's have a new list item, and let's add the logout button right here. And notice that was automatically imported for me. And let's also go to app.js and see what should happen if someone goes to the logout path. So what I'm going to do is add a new route with a path of /logout, and what I want to do is say component, and we're going to have some logic in here, so that's why I'm adding a function call here, and we say this.props.session and this.props.session.me is equal to null. Then I'll redirect to login. Otherwise, I want to display the logout page. So let's save this. Oh, and logout page is not defined. That's because we didn't import that. So import logout page from logout. Okay, so let's log in. And now we do get the logout button, but it doesn't do anything. So what should the logout button do? Well, the logout button should definitely remove the token that we store in local storage. So let's say button on click, and let's have an on click handler in here that is going to be calling this.logout, and we will write this method right now. So logout is a method that is going to go to local storage and remove item token. And let's also do a redirect props.history.push/login. Okay, well, let's hit save, and let's try to see what happens when we hit logout. Okay, so we had logout, we did remove the token, but we can't push to login. So that's interesting, because we should be able to do that, right? Because we should be able to be redirected to the login And if we refresh the app, that's the exact behavior that we want, because now after refresh, we are redirected back to login. Now, there are a few issues with this. Even if I just remove this line here, I just want to show you something very interesting here. So if we log in, and when we hit log out, we still get this data in here available for us in GraphQL, right? So what we want to do, we also want to access the Apollo client, and we want to reset that. We want to make sure that all the session and everything else that we set up is removed, because remember, in here we set an operation up that takes the token itself, so we have an active session that we want to make sure that is destroyed as well. So how can we do that? Well, notice I have already imported the Apollo consumer. The Apollo consumer allows us to access the client that we use at the moment. So this is the actively used GraphQL Apollo client that we have. And it's going to be as part of this Apollo consumer where we will add the button itself. And we're going to pass in the client to the onClick handler. And what we will do is call client dot reset store. Now this reset store resets the Apollo consumer client on logout, and as you can see, because of that, we automatically get redirected back to the login. Now we could make this an async function as well and await for this to happen, and we could also do this properly and push the history property with this login value. So add this login to the browser history. So when we press logout, we are now seeing the login. We can't go back to the profile because we automatically get redirected back to login. So let's do a test. Let's go ahead and register a new user. I'm just going to call this test. Okay, registration was successful. Let's go to login. Let's try to write test in here. And here it is. We now have this test user. We can refresh this page. We can click profile as many times as we want. We can also try to go to login, and that redirects us back to the profile. And when we hit logout, we are now logged out. And if we want to go back to the profile, there's no way that we can go back there because we need to log in first. So in these few videos, we saw how to create a very basic React application that allows us to register new users, to log in users, and to see the data that we've stored in the actual session that is also achieved by the GraphQL JSON Web Token that we created in the earlier section of this course. So hopefully you found this useful, and in the next video we will also implement the file upload functionality so that we will be able to display a profile image for the user when they are logged in.